What happens when a normal morning show appearance turns into one of the most uncomfortable television moments of the year? Kylie Kelce, wife of retired NFL legend Jason Kelce, found herself at the center of a media storm that nobody expected. The Today with Jenna and Friends segment was meant to be light, fun, and promotional. Instead, it turned into a live example of how quickly things can fall apart when the wrong questions get asked at the wrong time. Before we dive into what actually happened, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me what you think about celebrity interviews crossing the line, because what you're about to hear will leave you stunned. The studio lights were bright that morning, and the energy in the room was buzzing. Jenna Bush Hager sat comfortably in her chair, joined by her co-hosts Savannah Guthrie and Hoda Kotb. They had been hyping up this interview all week. Kylie Kelce, who had become a household name not only because of her husband's football fame, but also due to her genuine presence on social media and her popular podcast, was there to talk about her new book about family, motherhood, and life in the spotlight. The cameras were rolling, the audience was ready, and everything seemed smooth. Jenna started warmly. "Kylie, it's so wonderful to have you here. We've been looking forward to this. Your book has been getting amazing feedback, and so many people relate to your honesty about parenting under public pressure." Kylie looked relaxed in a cream blazer and jeans. "Thank you so much for having me. Writing this book has been quite a journey, and I really wanted it to be real. I didn't want to sugarcoat anything because I think people connect to the honest stuff, not the filtered highlights." Savannah nodded, leaning forward. "Absolutely. That's what makes you so relatable. You've never shied away from showing the imperfect parts. But I do have to ask, how do you stay open while still protecting your family's privacy, especially with everything going on in the headlines?" There it was, the first small shift in tone. Kylie's smile stayed, but something flickered in her eyes. "Well, I think there's a difference between sharing universal experiences, like chaotic bedtime routines or keeping a marriage strong, and revealing private details. I try to keep that line pretty clear." Hoda jumped in lightly but with a pointed tone. "Right, but you've shared quite a lot. I mean, your podcast episodes about your marriage have been very open. You've talked about disagreements, struggles, compromise. So where exactly do you draw that line?" Kylie adjusted slightly in her seat. "The line is when it stops being about shared human experiences and turns into exploiting private moments for entertainment. I talk about challenges generally because all couples have them, but I don't replay word-for-word conversations that should stay private." Jenna's face shifted to something more serious. "That's interesting because there's been a lot of talk lately about your family. I know you've seen the reports. People are wondering if there's truth to the rumors about tension between you and Taylor Swift. Can we talk about that?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Kylie's posture stiffened, her smile fading into something polite but cold. "Jenna, I thought we were here to talk about my book." Savannah jumped in quickly. "We are, absolutely. But your book is about family dynamics and relationships, and I think this connects because people see you as authentic. They want to know how you handle these situations when the media starts talking." Kylie took a breath, choosing her words carefully. "I handle it by not feeding into it. I've said before, my family is my priority. My husband, my kids, our life together. That's what matters. Everything else is just background noise, and I don't waste my energy on noise." Hoda pressed on. "But it's not really just noise when it affects your family, right? When your brother-in-law is in one of the most famous relationships in the world, and every photo or post gets analyzed, that must have an impact on you." Kylie's jaw tightened slightly. "What impacts me is when people try to create division where there isn't any. What impacts me is when interviews that are supposed to be about my work get turned into gossip sessions." Jenna lifted her hands, trying to soften things. "I get that. But you have to understand, people care about your family. They love the Kelce brothers, the dynamic, all of it. When they see headlines suggesting there's tension, they're curious. That's not gossip, it's interest." Kylie's gaze sharpened. Genuine interest would be respecting when someone says they don't want to discuss something. Genuine interest would mean focusing on the purpose of this conversation, my book about motherhood and raising daughters. Instead, we're sitting here discussing tabloid rumors. The tension in the studio was visible. Savannah tried redirecting. Your book talks about dealing with outside pressure and protecting your kids from negativity. So how do you talk to your daughters about what they might hear online about your family? Kylie paused before answering. I teach them that not everything people say is true, and that not everyone who acts kind has good intentions. I tell them to trust their own experiences and to know the difference between someone who genuinely cares and someone pretending to care for attention. The comment hung in the air, loaded with meaning. Jenna raised her eyebrows. That sounds personal. Have you had situations where people pretended to be kind but had hidden motives? Kylie gave a small laugh, but there was no humor in it. Are we really doing this right now? Hoda tried to smooth things over. Kylie, we're just having a conversation. We want you to share your side because there are many stories out there. Kylie's tone grew firm. Stories you're helping to keep alive by bringing them up again. You invited me here to talk about my book, and yet we're still stuck on gossip. That's not journalism, it's entertainment pretending to be journalism. The hosts exchanged glances. Jenna's smile was gone. I think that's a little unfair, Kylie. We're asking what our audience wants to know. Kylie shook her head slightly. No, you're asking what will make good clips for social media. That's not the same thing, and I'm not here to play that game. Savannah's voice grew defensive. We've had plenty of guests talk about their personal lives. That's part of morning TV, connecting with people. Kylie replied sharply. Connecting with people isn't the same as pushing into private matters someone doesn't want to discuss. You know the difference. The cheerful tone from earlier was gone. Hoda tried to change course again. Let's refocus. Your book talks about setting boundaries. Can you tell us about that? Kylie looked at her steadily. I can, but I'm not sure you actually want to hear it. Setting boundaries means saying no when people try to push you into things that don't align with your values. It means walking away from situations that threaten your peace. It means not letting others convince you that their agenda matters more than your well-being. Jenna frowned. I don't think anyone here is trying to manipulate you. Kylie didn't hesitate. Then why does it feel like every time I try to steer this back to my book, it's ignored? Savannah sat straighter. Kylie, I think you're being a bit defensive. We're just doing our jobs. If you didn't want to talk about your life, why write a book about it? Kylie's expression hardened. There's a big difference between me sharing parts of my life on my own terms and being cornered live on air with questions designed to stir up drama. You know exactly what you're doing. Jenna's tone sharpened. Ambushed is a strong word. We're having a discussion. If you can't handle tough questions, maybe promoting a book about authenticity wasn't the best idea. Kylie's eyes widened slightly, and she spoke more quietly but with strength. Tough questions would be about the research in my book or the parenting ideas I discuss. What you're asking are not tough questions. They're gossip traps. That's not journalism. It's manipulation, Hoda interrupted, trying to mediate. That's not fair. These are real conversations happening publicly. Kylie turned toward her. Conversations you amplify. Conversations you give weight to. You have a huge platform and you're using it to corner me about things that have nothing to do with why I'm here. Jenna leaned forward, her voice raised. We have a duty to our viewers to ask the questions they want answered. People are talking about your family. That's reality. Kylie shot back immediately. And I have a duty to my real family, not the version that exists in gossip blogs. My reality is 3 daughters who'll see this interview. My reality is a husband who trusted me to represent our family with dignity. My reality is that I worked hard on something meaningful, and instead of sharing that, I'm defending myself against loaded questions. Open. You've built your brand on honesty. Now you're shutting down. Savannah crossed her arms. You're being unfair. We gave you chances to steer the talk, and you keep attacking us. Kylie's eyes flashed. I'm not attacking you. I'm pointing out that your focus is on controversy, not substance. Every time I try to get back to the topic, you twist it. Jenna's tone was tight. Maybe you just can't handle the spotlight you've created for yourself. You want the fame and attention, but not the scrutiny. The room wan.